Longines is a luxury watch company based in Saint-Imier, Switzerland. Founded by Auguste Agassiz in 1832, it is owned by the Swatch Group. Its winged hourglass logo is the oldest registered trademark for a watchmaker. Longines is known for its Aviators range of watches. Her company director was a friend of Charles Lindbergh. After his transatlantic flight, Lindbergh designed a pilot watch to help with air navigation. Built to his specifications, it is still produced today. Longines provided timers used at the first modern Olympics in 1896. In 1899, a Longines watch went to the North Pole with Arctic explorer Luigi Amadeo of Savoy. It was the first to use automatic timekeeping for the Federal Gymnastics at Basel in 1912. Today, Longines sells sport watches and chronographs. History. Based in Saint-Imier since 1832, the Compagnie des Montres Longines Francilienne SA was among the world's leading watch companies. In 2007, Longines had its 175th anniversary. The brand evolved from a comptoir to a full-fledged manufacturing operation and then back down to an établir today. Since the early 1980s, as a Swatch Group company, the Longines story began in 1832, when Auguste Agassiz, brother of naturalist Louis Agassiz, found a job in the hamlet of Saint-Imier, joining Comptoir Horlogerie Geljeune. In 1833, taking over the business when he and two of his associates set up a company named Comptoir Geljeune CIE. The venture was run on the then prevailing business model based on piecework by people making or processing watch parts in their own homes for the account of a jobber who delivered the blanks, or rough parts, and picked up and paid for the finished ones. The company soon found ways to sell its timepieces in distant markets, not least in the Americas. Agassiz and Amp Compagnie. In 1847, Agassiz became the sole owner of the company, which he renamed Agassiz and Amp Compagnie. In 1852, his nephew Ernest Francillon joined the company. During the 1850s, Francillon took over the business from his ailing uncle, focusing on increasing and improving the production of standard watch designs. Ancienne Maison Auguste Agassiz, Ernest Francillon, successor. In 1862, Francillon renamed the venture Ancienne Maison Auguste Agassiz. Ernest Francillon, successor, adding his own name to his uncle's. As he took over day-to-day management, Francillon looked for ways of improving and streamlining production, then parceled out to a number of different sites. The result was a factory where the watches were both manufactured and assembled. Les Longines. In 1866, Francillon purchased two adjoining plots of land at a place locally known as Les Longines on the right bank of the River Suze in the Saint-Imier valley. Here he built a factory to gather the entire production under one roof. By 1867, Francillon had convinced some of his pieceworkers to transfer their activities to his newly built factory and hired a young kinsman, the engineer Jacques David, to help him devise the tools and machines which he needed to improve the manufacturing processes. Jacques David was able to mechanize much of the process of watchmaking. Manufacture Longines. The first in-house Longines movement was created in 1867. The same year, Ernest Francillon returned from the World's Fair in Paris with a bronze medal for this watch. For the 1870s on, Longines' industrial options proved judicious and the company grew steadily until the first third of the 20th century. The buildings themselves regularly had to be adapted to the needs of a flourishing enterprise which, by 1911, employed over 1,100 people and sold its timepieces worldwide. Logo. On the 19th of July 1880, the Longines brand and logo were registered at the Swiss Federal Office of Intellectual Property, now the World Intellectual Property Organization. The company had by 1867 already adopted its winged hourglass symbol both as a mark of quality and as a defense against counterfeiting. In 1876, Jack David attended the American Centennial Exhibition in Philadelphia and was shocked by the high level of mechanization and automation that had been achieved by the American manufacturers. On his return, he wrote two reports that triggered a wide-ranging debate within the Swiss watch industry. David's first report was a detailed description of the current state of American watchmaking, a summary of the state of Swiss watchmaking and recommendations of changes he thought necessary to counter the threat to Swiss watchmaking from America. This confidential report was presented to the Intercantonal Society in January 1877. Less than 2 months later, David presented a second report, vigorously complaining about a lack of action in response to his first report and predicting the end of watchmaking in Switzerland should action and change not be made properly and on time. The 1970s. In 1972, Longines was the first world watchmaker to introduce a LCD display watch on the consumer market. There were advances in performance of the watches and their appearance continued to change. In 1980s, there were a series of ultra-thin designs following another world record of Longines in 1979, the thinnest quartz watch called the Fuel d'Or. It was just 1.98 mm thick. The 1980s Indiana 1984, Longines introduced the Conquest VHP caliber, the first thermocompensated quartz movement to use digital count adjustment. It set new accuracy standards with a variance of only plus or minus 12 seconds a year. Thermocompensation uses a highly sensitive thermometer to measure the ambient temperature and slightly adjust the frequency of the quartz oscillator to compensate for adverse effects on timekeeping caused by temperature fluctuation. 30 million watches. On the 19th of February 2001, Longines produced the 30 millionth watch at its factory. In 2002, it celebrated the 170th year of the flying hourglass logo. Longines in sport. Longines gradually built a special relationship with the world of sport. Present in Athens in 1896, the company has been closely associated with the worldwide development of sport, timing Olympic Games 14 times, beginning with Oslo in 1952. Its partnership drove the company to devise a variety of inventions and developments enabling it to determine and display winning times. Aeronautics official supplier since 1919 to the International Aeronautics Federation. Longines has provided the watches required to set and then certify numerous world flight records, not least Charles Lindbergh's 1927 first non-stop solo crossing of the North Atlantic. Instruments designed and built by Longines have thus helped world explorers and trailblazers of the skies. Thus, in 1927 Longines timed Lindbergh's transatlantic flight, which lasted 33 hours and 30 minutes. Amelia Earhart was another famous wearer of its watches. This period also marked the appearance of the first in-house self-winding watches, and the company won several awards. Among them 4 Diamonds International Academy Awards and the Prix d'Honneur of Lausanne. In the mid-1930s Longines patented the flyback chronograph. American sports. Before the advent of digital clocks, the Longines name was conspicuously displayed above large analog clocks topping many scoreboards at various sports stadiums and arenas. 3 notable examples in baseball parks were the scoreboard clocks at Yankee Stadium before the stadium was remodeled during the early 1970s, at Shea Stadium, removed at the end of the 1979 season and replaced with a digital clock, and at Crossley Field in Cincinnati, Ohio. So nostalgic were Cincinnati fans for the latter. A replica was installed at Great American Ballpark when it replaced Crosley's cookie-cutter successor, Riverfront Stadium. The Longines logo received much free publicity when Pittsburgh Pirates second baseman Bill Mazeroski's 1960 World Series winning home run was hit directly above a Longines sign at Forbes Field. Similarly, a Longines sign was prominently visible at San Francisco's Candlestick Park when San Francisco 49ers receiver Dwight Clark made a famous catch of a touchdown pass from quarterback Joe Montana in the 1981 National Football Conference Championship game. While many of these original Longines clocks have been removed, a handful remain, including one in full working order above the basketball court at the University of Kansas's Allen Fieldhouse. Basketball Longines was an official sponsor of Los Angeles Lakers televised broadcasts from the late 1970s to 1984. During lead-in segments, the Longines brand name appeared as a graphic as Lakers broadcaster Chick Hearn announced the brand as the official timepiece of the Lakers. Equestrian Sports in 1952, its Photogenius was the first device to visualize the finish line as it measured times. By 1960, the counterfeit combined moving images and timing functions. These and other inventive developments contributed to a Longines sporting credentials. Longines started equestrian timekeeping in 1926 at the Concours Hippique International in Geneva. It has since then officiated at more than 100 national and international show jumping competitions in Europe and in North America, providing timing services at competitions including World Championships, European Championships, and Olympic Games, along with many CSIO meets as well as, more recently, Arab League competitions. Longines sponsors various horse racing events. For example, the Dubai Shima Classic, Grosser Preis von Baden, Prix de l'Opéra, Singapore Gold Cup, Hong Kong International Races, and Kentucky Oaks are all currently sponsored by Longines Gymnastics. After the great success of wristwatches at the beginning of the 20th century, the Longines factory underwent a massive reorganization of methods of production during the 1920s and 30s. In 1912, Longines began a close partnership with gymnastics as the official timekeeper for the 1912 Swiss Federal Gymnastics meet in Basel. The result of this partnership was the introduction of automatic timing. In 1912 at the Swiss Federal Gymnastics meet, it introduced the broken wire automatic timing system. Skiing Longines started in skiing in 1933, and returned to it in 2006, becoming official timekeeper for the FIS's 2006-2007 Alpine World Cup competitions. Tennis. Longines has been the official timekeeper and partner of the French Open since 2007, as well as the Kremlin Cup and the Japan Open Tennis Championships since 2009. Former World ATP number 1 Auguste Agassiz and WTA No. 1 Steffi Graf were named Ambassadors of Elegance in 2008, and Longines has been a long-time partner and sponsor of Agassiz Foundation for Education, and Graf's Foundation Children for Tomorrow. In 2010, the brand has announced its U.S. and global tennis program aimed at supporting and developing junior athletes. Tour de France. In addition to the Olympic Games, Longines has timed 31 Tours de France. Worldwide acclaim. Over the years, the company's various technical research projects earned so much acclaim abroad that Longines could claim the title of leading prize winner at international exhibitions up to the Barcelona exhibition of 1929. It won 10 Grand Prix. In 1969, Longines' corporate tradition of technical innovation yielded the first cybernetic quartz electronic wristwatch ever designed by a watch manufacturer's in-house research facilities.